Okay, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about forms. All right. Now, some people, depending on what martial arts style, they call them hyongs, they call them kata. Um, but forms are basically patterns of movement made to kind of simulate fighting. So it's sort of like shadow boxing. Okay, so if you've ever seen like Muhammad Ali or some of these boxers or some of these UFC fighters when they're warming up before they go into the ring and they're going through all these techniques and they're practicing their movement and everything, it's shadow boxing. Okay, now with forms, it's sort of like it's a method of shadow boxing. Only it's just way more formal. All right, it's like when you see these forms and you see them do a block or a punch, and it's very straightforward. They have a specific stance, and it's kind of deep. And I know a lot of people. They're probably like, "Man, I don't I don't see how you could use that in a fight. That doesn't look like a real fight." Well, it's not necessarily meant to be like a real fight. It's almost like using very formal speaking and conversation. So if I'm just chilling with somebody and and I see them and I say hi, I'm not going to say hi, how are you? It almost sounds like I'm talking in a second language or something. It's not going to be that formal. I'm going to be like, hey, what's up? Okay. So the thing is, in order for me to be able to talk like that, I have to have been practicing my language in order for me to get those little shortcuts and those little nuances to make it sound like I know what I'm like. I've been doing this for a while. If I went to France and tried to speak French over there, which I'm not fluent at, by the way, everyone will be able to tell that I'm not from there. Okay. So what I would have to do is practice French, practice the language. And then from there, I'd be a lot better at it. But that's sort of what forms is. Forms consist of all these different techniques that you're going to need to learn throughout this skill set. So in order to do it, um, they've developed these different patterns so you can practice over these forms. It's like a template. All right. So it's a template of patterns where you can practice over these stances, over the techniques, over the blocks, over the chops, all these different things. And even with weapons, you can practice over all these different techniques to the point where you can get pretty good at it. And the beauty about it is once you develop the technique and everything, you can practice on getting good speed, good power, start breaking down what type of muscles you need to make it efficient. When I started doing forms, yeah, like most people, I was bad at it. I wasn't that great. Now, some folks, they got that talent and they kind of just get it. That wasn't me. So, it took a second. But once I started practicing, I got one, I practiced in my head, and eventually things started developing. I started understanding why they did what. I started getting a level of understanding of what everything was for. And as I went along throughout the years, I started looking at forms that I learned my first month in martial arts a different way throughout the years. I took a form that I learned like, 2, 3, 4 years previous, revisited it, and it's like watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie where it had a twist at the end, but you go to watch it a second time, it's like, now I understand why they did that there. It's like when you watch Game of Thrones, you see season 7. We're not going to talk about season 8, but when you see season 7, and then you go back and you watch season 1, and you're like, oh, I understand what that meant then. So with a lot of these forms, you can take them, learn them, do the best you can with them, and keep that experience level going. And then later on, when you come back to it, you're like, oh, I get this now. I understand why I had to look over this way. I understand why I had to go so slow and do all this tension right here on this particular movement. It helps you understand the language a lot better. So, to someone that's just now getting into this, I know you're going to look at forms and be like, man, some folks just take to it. I love forms. Some folks just take to it. Some folks take it to the next level, to the point where they're competing with it and everything. And there's tournaments all over the world that all they do is martial arts patterns. All they do is martial arts forms. And it can be a very beautiful thing. At a lot of these larger tournaments, there's like all these different divisions. You have like traditional forms, you got musical forms, you got creative forms, you got extreme forms where you'll see guys doing a lot of different tricking, a lot of different acrobatic skills, just showing off a high level of athleticism with these forms. Okay, you can do, okay, there's martial arts, then there's forms. Okay, now the thing is, a lot of people think that that's a separation, but it's a part of it. It's like martial arts and sparring. No, there is that. It's a part of it. Okay, that's like saying I'm going to this house and then I'm going to the kitchen. Oh no, the kitchen's part of the house. So that's how forms are. You can't separate that from martial arts. It's a part of it. Here's the thing with forms and how doing forms can apply to your daily type of living. All right. Now with forms, you go through it, you learn the language, you learn the basics, and then from there, it's like once you learn the proper techniques and everything, then you're going to go through different transitions. How can you connect this with that? Okay, with forms. And from there, that's sort of how it is with life. You're going to go through basic reactions and interactions with people. And you're going to learn how to connect those actions and reactions together. And I always say this, knowledge is knowing what to do. Wisdom is knowing what not to do. All right. So you're going to, as you go through life, you're going to start learning how to interact with people, how to interact in different situations. There's this saying that says life is 10% what happens to you. It's 90% how you react to it. And the thing is, you have to learn all these different reactions because each different reaction that you give to that action is going to cause a reaction to that reaction. So, and that's how life works. That's how we react to different people in your world. So as you go through life, you learn different tactics on how to handle different situations. That's kind of how forms are. With forms, it starts as a basic language. And then from there, you take that basic language and you add it with someone else's basic language and you have a basic conversation. Okay? So forms, they can teach you how to be fluid with the language you've been given. And with us, we have to learn how to be fluid with the language that we've been given. Whether that language is working with computers or daycare or law enforcement or entrepreneurship, business development, there's a certain language that's in these different worlds. And you have to know not only how to speak the language, but how to interact with other people that are speaking the language. With forms, it's a pattern. It's already set. It's already planned. You just have to know how to walk it out. Throughout life, we get a lot of different things, whether you work for somebody or you're starting your own business, and you have a plan that's already mapped out. It's already set. And you have to have a mindset, just like you have to have a mindset to go off the beaten path and do your own thing. And you have to be able to work off the cuff and, and be able to do things on the fly to, prevail in the situation. You also have to know how to work a plan. You have to know how to look at something, how to break it down, how to make it work for you. And a lot of times that's like a muscle like anything else. It takes practice in order to see something, a pattern that someone else has worked out, and then, and then work it the way that it looks right there on the paper, on the screen. No matter what it is in martial arts, forms and patterns, their prime purpose is muscle memory. That's their prime purpose. You want to be able to work that technique and get it to the point where your body almost can do it like subconsciously. There's a quote. It's called Mushin. It means mind, no mind. Okay, that means to do it without thinking. It's like knee jerk. You've heard that knee jerk reaction. So that's what we're doing with forms. So you get a chance to do this, and you'll be able to do it so much. You'll be able to focus on once you get the process of it all, or the pattern, or the order that things are in, then you get to work on the details, and you get to work on, okay, how can I maximize this to the fullest potential, where I can get the most power, I can get the best flow, the most speed out of this set of techniques that I'm practicing. And you'll get that, and you'll catch the revelation of that the more you do the forms, the more you do the patterns, the more you do the wheel. Okay, so that's something that's global across the board for martial arts. Even when you get into the martial arts from a military aspect, they have drills and patterns in there. They even have drills and patterns for firearms. So it's a very, very useful tool, no matter what part of the board you're on. And forms, a lot of people use forms, whether they're in martial arts or whether they're in the business world or whatever. Forms is basically a routine. Okay, that's one of the best ways to generate a behavior of relaxation, is when you get into a routine. All right, when I first started grappling, man, I was just one big muscle. I did not know how to relax. I had one thing that I saw folks trying to choke me out, trying to put me in submission, and my brain just froze up. And this was after like 20 years of doing, just stand-up Taekwondo. Even with that, and I did forms there, didn't matter. Grappling was a totally different animal. So I kind of freaked out and I tensed up. So what I needed to do is figure out a ritual to allow me to relax. With music, you have your notes. For music, you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. All right, you have your notes, and then you put those notes together. You have a chord, or you have what's called an arrangement. All right, you put enough of those arrangements together, and you have a song. All right, that's sort of like with patterns, with forms. You have techniques. You start off with techniques. Then you work your way into combos. You put enough of those combos together, you got a form. All right. So does that mean I'm going to go up, if someone's trying to rob me, I'm going to all of a sudden step back, bow, ready position, and then do a form? No. All that does is for muscle memory. So you know how to pull that technique out and use it to its full extent when you need to. So if you're doing forms, don't be that guy that does forms and barely gets through it, and you do it just enough so the instructor can say, okay, he did his form. And no, don't. Martial arts isn't one of those things you want to go through and you're just trying to get D's and C's. All right. If you're going to do it, let's do it. All right. So if you're going to do a form, that's the beauty about it. You can punch as strong as you want. You can block as strong as you want. You can kick as strong as you want. It's air. You can't destroy it. My son comes close. You know, most kids, you know, yeah, they can destroy a lot of things, but air, no. So what you want to do when you're practicing your forms, you want to practice strong, like your life depends on it. Like if you had to throw this kick, if you were a 20-year-old female, all right, and you have to throw this kick to get a 220-pound dude off of you, that's the way you need to practice this kick, with optimum technique, with optimum speed, optimum power. Yeah, so forms, when you do them right, oh yeah, it's a workout. It's some of the best cardio on the planet. So, you know, I can't endorse that enough. So when you practice your forms strong. And same thing, if you're going to practice a pattern, no matter what it is, whether you're doing this in school or for college or for your job, or if you're practicing something that's going to help your family, practice it, plan it, and practice it to its optimum effect. Okay? Don't go in and you're like halfway doing it and you're doing it at 50% and you're expecting 100% results. So if you're going to practice it, do it all the way. If you're going to practice cleaning your room, then don't throw everything under the bed and then just lay the comforter over your thing and then say you clean the room. Now, if you're going to practice cleaning the room, clean the room. So that's my time. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you put your comments down there. Like I said, we're steady looking for different subjects to talk about. We got a lot of videos already out, but that's going to help. All right. All right. So we're going to look at the comments and, you know, we're going to adhere to them. So go ahead, put it down there, subscribe. You guys have a great day. We'll see you next time.